You've probably heard the famous phrase, "London Bridge is falling down." Well, by the end of today's video, you'll learn why the New York Bridge is falling down. Is it about to become even more famous? The Brooklyn-Queens Expressway, also known as the BQE, is undoubtedly the road that New Yorkers dislike the most. And it's for good reasons. In today's video, we will find out why this important road in New York is on the verge of collapse. Make sure to stick to the end of this video, as we have a lot to cover. Let's dive right in. Every day, more than 130,000 vehicles travel down the BQE's congested lanes and numerous potholes. Although it has a bad reputation, Brooklyn's lone interstate is the BQE. The road salt and moisture that have eroded the concrete and steel foundation of the Brooklyn-Queens Expressway, as well as all the overweight vehicles that it was never intended to handle, are progressively causing it to collapse. The worst consequence is that we have some kind of collapse or true disaster, Lara Birnbach, executive director of the Brooklyn Heights Association, said. But over the past few months, a lot of local officials and citizens have grown more angry and worried about what they see to be the city's lack of urgency and transparency over the motorway. This route is significant for New York, even though most of us have probably never heard of it. It's not exactly ideal in one of the biggest cities in the world for hundreds of thousands of vehicles to drive through congested residential neighborhoods to get where they need to go if it goes down. There have been several interim fixes over the years and proposals to knock everything down. Plans for immediate repairs and a long-term plan to rebuild the road are currently being developed. Still, as we all know, nothing in New York City is ever easy. Construction is not frequently inexpensive or straightforward in a city known for never sleeping. This is how New York is racing to fix one of its most essential arteries. The first thing that comes to mind when you think of New York is definitely its skyscrapers, and next, perhaps its public transportation system. But the importance of its roads is equal. Because Americans adore their vehicles, these roads facilitate the daily movement of millions of products, services, and people between the 5 boroughs. Some of those roads are now almost a century old and appear to require continual maintenance. Robert Moses is mainly responsible for the city's deteriorating transportation system. He was a well-known city planner, albeit occasionally contentious. Moses, again not the biblical Moses, contributed to the planning of numerous highways, parks, and bridges in New York throughout the early 1900s. He suggested a motorway that would link Brooklyn and Queens to lessen traffic on the local streets of the 2 boroughs. He initially proposed a path directly passing through Brooklyn, but it was rejected. As a result, he altered the course to follow the waterfront, and the BQE's construction started in 1937. Construction expenditures for the motorway totaled $137 million by the time it was finished in 1964. The BQE was one of the earliest roads to allow commuters and business trucks. Presently, it's essential for the city, particularly for the goods it depends on. The motorway travels approximately 19 kilometers, nearly 18.5 miles, from Grand Central Parkway in Queens to Red Hook, Brooklyn. It is really the primary trucking route that would connect from southern points of New Jersey up into the city to Brooklyn and Queens, even into lower Manhattan, and then could be extended to Long Island. It is really the primary trucking route that would connect from southern points of New Jersey up into the city to Brooklyn and Queens, even into lower Manhattan, and then could be extended to Long Island. Rachel Weinberger, the chair of transportation of the Regional Planning Association, said, "There's no other trucking route, and about 10 to 15% of the traffic on the BQE is freight at the moment." The building's triple cantilever and 8-block, 3-level structure, composed of concrete and steel carved into a land wall, is undoubtedly its most eye-catching feature. 2 roads and an overlook area, known as the Brooklyn Promenade, make up the 3 levels of the overhanging structure. However, most of the road is starting to crumble due to years of use, deterioration, and illegally overweight trucks, particularly the 2.4-kilometer segment of the BQE Central controlled by the city. This component has a triple cantilever, which is regrettably in the worst condition. Due to excessive road salt and water intrusion, the steel inside the concrete is corroding. In the 1950s, there were no protective coatings on steelwork. Engineers are requesting a rapid repair because that is obviously a serious issue. We say urgent because a 2016 analysis, from back then, found that by 2026, the city would have to put restrictions on all trucks on the road if nothing was done. City planners and politicians have been racing to come up with solutions. They have suggested a detour, a road shutdown, a new tunnel, effective waterproofing, or even the removal of the entire structure. But in New York, it's nearly impossible to devise a plan to please everyone. and the years have passed. The only thing accomplished so far is to close one traffic lane and restrict some truck access. Another new strategy was unveiled in 2022, with a new mayor and federal infrastructure financing on the table. Beginning in 2023, Mayor Adams' new accelerated plan ought to be less expensive and more effective than the earlier suggestions. The article's subject is the crucial city-owned area between Atlantic Avenue and Sand Street. Obviously, there is still a long way to go until everyone is on board, and conflicts may cause delays. Upcoming community meetings and the design process will continue until the official construction activities start in 2026. The BQE's immediate safety will be ensured in the interim for repairs. On the Queens-bound deck, the concrete and rebar are being rebuilt, and the cantilever needs the most urgent repairs. The degraded concrete will be removed in this area. Then reinforcement will be added by adding new steel plates. That means a few weekends in 2023 will see overnight lane closures on portions of the motorway. Traffic will be diverted to nearby streets, so alternate modes of transportation are urged. I'm sure without a doubt there will be some traffic issues, there will be some snarls, there will be some inconvenience to the impacted neighborhoods. And I don't mean to minimize that, Birnbach said. But at the same time, most people would agree that keeping the roadway as safe as possible is essential. But I'm hopeful they will have had enough lead time to mitigate the impacts as best as possible. It is safe to declare that the BQE needs to be repaired immediately and is no longer a concern for the future. Many people and freight flows that keep New York functioning would suffer significantly without this development project. Some locals are optimistic about the future of the motorway. BQP, the Brooklyn-Queens Park Plan from BIG. According to Birnbach, the Bjarke-Ingels Group is one of the projects that people in our community have been enthusiastic about. It really creates tunnels and covers over the cantilever connections. We have an incredible world-class park and Brooklyn Bridge Park along the waterfront. It would connect the promenade and parts of Brooklyn Heights more directly with the park. It would be great to see some of the ramps that lead directly off the BQE onto the bridges taken away, Weinberger said. Not so much to put traffic into the neighborhoods, but partly because the traffic will evaporate to some extent and can be accommodated differently. And those ramps take up acres and acres and acres of space that could be used in various creative ways. The BQE is obviously just one of many U.S. freeways that require maintenance. Still, it effectively personifies how essential these ostensibly unimportant infrastructures are to our daily lives. The necessity of construction is highlighted by fixing this motorway, which provides an opportunity to think more creatively about how this sector may improve our world. What do you think is the best solution to this problem? Make sure to let us know your thoughts down below. Subscribe to the channel as a sacrifice to the gods of the algorithm. Thanks for watching.